discussing converting units of area, remember that area is length times width, okay? If we're talking about just a rectangle in 2 dimensions. So we have to be careful. If we go back to when we were doing just converting centimeters to millimeters, if you recall on our chart, we started with kilo, and then we had hecta, deca, base, deci, centi, and milli. And then, if you recall, I made the comment about just looking at which way you moved and how many bounces you went. Okay, well that only works if you are going from centimeter to millimeter, so that would be 1 jump. Well, now we're talking about centimeters squared, and that's looking at, okay, this would be centimeters times centimeters. So if we look at it this way, we would do a jump this direction for our width, but then we would have to do a jump again for our length. So notice we would do 1, 2 jumps. So it's like we have to do, when we're converting our units of area, we have to do things twice, because we are looking at things in 2 dimensions now. We're not looking at it in 1 direction, we're looking at it in 2 directions. So we have to do it twice. So whenever I want 12 centimeters squared, and I'm going to go to millimeters squared, I am going to first jump here for 1 of the centimeters, and then I'm going to jump here for the other centimeter, so I jump twice. And so I'm going to move my decimal. I'm still jumping to the right. I'm going to move my decimal that starts out behind the 2, and I'm going to move 2 places to the right. So I would have 1, 2, 0, 0. So I'd have 1200 millimeters squared. So instead of doing it once, whereas if we had just 12 centimeters and I want to go to millimeters, I would just move it 1 time and I would have 120 millimeters. Now, since I'm squaring it, I have to go 2 times because I have to double how far I'm going. Now let's look at going from millimeters to meters squared. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps. So I do that twice. So that's 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go a total of 6 jumps. So I started here, 1, 2, 3 jumps, and then I go 3 more jumps, 1, 2, 3. So my new decimal will be behind the 9, and I will get 1,569 meters squared. So again, you're going to be doing this twice because it's area. You have 2 directions to look at. So let's think about inches and yards. It's not as easy as the jumps as it is for the metric system. So when we think about inches and yards, inches and feet, okay, remember we don't have a conversion that goes straight from inches to yards. So let's think. 12 inches equals 1 foot. And 3 feet equals 1 yard. In order to get squares of these, we literally square them. So what happens is we take this and we square it. We take this and we square it. We square and we square. So that means that 12 squared is 144 inches squared is equal to 1 foot squared. Because I have 12 inches and 12 inches, that equals a foot times a foot. 12 times 12 gives me 144. 3 squared is 9 feet squared is equal to 1 yard squared. And then we do our dimensional analysis. So I start out with my 19,440 inches squared. Remember, that's over 1. And I want to get rid of my inches squared. So I look here and I find where I have inches squared. So I have 144 on the denominator. And I go to 1 foot squared. Well, I don't want to go to feet squared. I want to go to yards squared. So I put feet squared on the denominator. And I've got 9 feet squared is equal to 1 yard squared. And notice now, inches squared and inches squared cancel. Feet squared and feet squared cancel because one's on the numerator, one's on the denominator. And I multiply straight across. So I get 19,440 divided by 1,296. And when I divide that out, I will get that 19,440 inches squared is equal to 15 yards squared. So you have to think about this. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So if I have 5,280 feet here and 5,280 feet here, 1 mile times 1 mile, 1 mile squared is going to be 27,878,400 feet squared. Yeah, that's a lot. So we're going from miles to feet. 2.5 miles squared over 1 times 27,878,400 feet squared over 1 mile squared. And again, my units will cancel out. I multiply straight across, and that will give me 69,400,000 696,000 feet squared. You have to remember that if you square your units, you have to square the values as well. Okay? So if you have 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet, 1 mile squared is equal to that value squared. Okay? You can't just say get rid of the, or multiply it by the 5,280. You have to multiply it by 5,280 squared. So please be careful about that.